Recently, I've become obsessed with this new show on Netflix called Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts. There are a lot of good shows out there, but there's something special about this one. It's weird and fun and hilarious and sweet. It's such a fantastic combination of so many factors that, given the chance, I could see this show eventually making its way into the ranks of top-tier animated shows like Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's a show that takes place about 200 years in the future, when humanity has been forced to live mostly underground while mutated animals, or mutes, live on the surface. 12-year-old Kipo has grown up entirely underground, but one day ends up lost on the surface and needs to find her way back to her dad. It's a cool post-apocalyptic plot, but it's nowhere near typical for that genre. For one, the tone isn't nearly as serious as most post-apocalypses. The best way I could describe the tone is fun and lighthearted. It's a show bursting at the seams with joy and love, just with an exciting and fascinating backdrop. So if you want a dark, grungy story, this isn't the show for you. But if you want a feel-good story with a really unique plot, then Kipo is right up your alley. So let's dive in and talk about all of the things that make Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts such a great show. Oh, and by the way, there will be some light spoilers in this video, but I won't spoil any major plot points. Alright, let's go.
You're gonna love it. It's gonna be great.
The thing that any good story needs is relatable, lovable characters, and Kipo definitely delivers on that front. The main cast is made up of Kipo, Wolf, Benson, Dave, and Mondu. Kipo is a huge nerd, thanks in large part to her dad being a teacher and scientist.
What minerals are in most abundance at this stratum?
Dad, that's easy! Azurite and malachite.
And she's full of optimism and compassion for others. Life on the surface is tough. The humans there, like Wolf and Benson, have had to struggle and be pretty ruthless to survive. Kipo, on the other hand, has grown up relatively sheltered underground and doesn't understand how harsh the surface can be. As a result, she often walks straight into danger, either not understanding how dangerous the situation is, or hoping that she can solve any problems by talking rather than fighting. This bit of her personality gets them into quite a bit of trouble, but it's also kind of the greatest weapon in the show. Kipo is changing things, getting things done in a more peaceful and compassionate way, forging alliances between enemies, and seeing the goodness in characters that others haven't. Sure, she's a bit naive, but she's doing her best. And when her peaceful plans go sideways, Wolf is there to protect her. Wolf is a jaded kid, having grown up on the surface, and she shares none of Kipo's optimism or softness.
Lesson 5 on the surface. Looking up, get you killed.
Wolf is ready to fight at the drop of a hat and won't hesitate to do whatever it takes to save her skin. In many ways, she's exactly the kind of person that Kipo needs around her on the surface, even if a lot of the time they seem at odds with each other. And Kipo's boundless kindness does its best to chip away at Wolf's tough exterior, leading to what is truly a heartwarming friendship. Their connection is probably one of the most powerful driving aspects of this show, leading to both the toughest challenges in the series and the most rewarding and triumphant scenes. You learn so much about these two and their backstories, and their personalities go together so well. I mean, who doesn't love a classic tale of soft sunshine character annoys tough strong character while both of them learn from each other? That has to be one of my favorite dynamics, and Kipo hits it out of the park. Then there's Benson and Dave, who are kind of the comedic relief duo.
Day by day, we're reaching higher and higher.
Benson loves music and snacks, and personality-wise, he's kind of in between Wolf and Kipo. He wants to see the good in the world, but he also knows that at the end of the day, he needs to look out for himself. Dave's character is super unique and absolutely hilarious. He's a bug who consistently sheds his skin and rapidly goes through multiple stages of growth. At different points in the series, he's either a baby, a teenager, a normal adult, a super strong adult, or an old man. Since he's unable to control when he changes form, it usually comes at very inconvenient times.
I told you you jinxed it.
And lastly, there's Mondu, the cute animal companion kind of akin to Momo from The Last Airbender. She's a six-legged, four-eyed pig who's super cute. There are a bunch of other characters who come and go as well, some good, some evil, some with potential redemption arcs, but all of them have solid goals and motivations that are clear. They all make mistakes, and they're all a product of their environment. Plus, storytelling-wise, the series does a great job of drip-feeding you information about the different characters' backstories and what they might be capable capable of in the future. Sometimes episodes open with a hint about the past. Sometimes there are flashbacks built into the fabric of an episode. And sometimes there's a giant tardigrade community who makes the characters experience their biggest dreams.
I also make a really neat pineapple upside down cake.
The storytelling tools that Kipo utilizes makes each episode feel fresh and gives you just enough information at the right time to keep you in the know, but also wanting to know more. A major part of this world that the main characters inhabit is the mutes, which is what they call the mutated animals. Many of the mutes can talk, meaning that a lot of the major players in this show aren't human. There are mod frogs, the timber cats, the umlaut snakes, and the Newton wolves, among others. Each of these species of mutes has their own thing about them, which you can probably tell just by their names. All the mod frogs wear suits, the timber cats are flannel-wearing, axe-wielding cats, the umlaut snakes are snakes that love to play guitar, and the Newton wolves are a bunch of nerdy wolves who love science and have a whole rap sequence about the Big Bang.
These are the events that brought us wolves into being. New time, new.
These characters are what make the world of Kipo so fun and interesting and weird. In what other show would you see the main character play guitar with a bunch of giant snakes or feed pancakes to a bunch of adorable but deadly cats? It's just something that you won't get anywhere else, and it helps to keep the tone of the show lighthearted. Because it's easy to make the giant mutated animals scary, but it's more fun when they just passionately love music or science. And sure, they still pose a threat to the main characters, and there's definitely conflict and high stakes, but you know throughout the show that this stuff is goofy and entertaining and in no way dark. A post-apocalyptic world full of themed mutated animals could be weird in a bad way, but Kipo does it perfectly and makes it believable to the extent that it can. Which leads me to my next point. Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts is a fun take on the post-apocalypse. These kinds of stories require a certain level of believability and rules for the audience to follow along. And the setting of Kipo is undoubtedly weird and different and out there, but it's consistent, and that's what matters. Once you watch the show, you know basically what you can expect. You learn to understand how society functions in that world, and it continues to behave in that way. It's not nonsensical, it's just sensical in a completely different way. When things happen, they might be hilariously weird, but they're not confusing. The audience has no problem following along, which allows for a deep immersion into the universe of Kipo. World building in fantastical settings like this has to walk a fine line, being different enough from our own world that it's gripping, but being the same enough to be familiar. Kipo, in my opinion, walks that line expertly. And then there's the art style. Everything in this show is beautiful. The animation, the colors, it's just visually stunning. Like, look at this shot, or this one, or this one. This world has some really cool scenes showcasing this city landscape overtaken by nature. Like this building where the staircase has filled with water, or this place called Skyscraper Ridge. The design is just so cool to me, and I would love an art book filled with glimpses of this city at different times of the day. But I feel like just seeing some of the visuals from this show doesn't do it justice, because so much of the emotion and power behind the show comes from its music. The music in Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts is phenomenal. Like, I'm not usually super attuned to the music in a series. I don't know what it is about the way my brain works, but I just usually don't think that much about the music or the soundtrack. My brain is just so focused on what I'm seeing that it doesn't pay much attention to what I'm hearing. But I couldn't help but fall in love with the music in this series. It adds so many layers to what's going on screen. Epic moments feel 10 times more epic because the song rises and falls precisely matching what's happening. And maybe what helps the music integrate flawlessly into the show is the fact that so much of it is diegetic, meaning the music often exists in the fictional world and the characters hear or interact with it in some way, whether that's Benson playing music through his headphones or Kipo singing the music herself.
You don't need the sun to keep you warm when you've got ours.
The music feels like an absolutely integral part of the show that works in sync with the visuals to deliver a show unlike anything I've seen before. Plus, the main theme is just such a catchy bop. Not gonna play the whole thing for you, but every episode starts off with that theme and the title worked into the scene somehow, which is just a really lovely little detail. I also want to talk about the representation in this show because I think it's really meaningful. Having diverse characters is important for so many reasons, from telling stories that don't normally get told to helping people see themselves reflected in their favorite stories. And Kipo does a really good job in this way. The main character herself is a mixed race girl whose dad is black and whose mom is Korean, while Wolf and Benson are both black. black. And we find out part of the way through the series that Benson is gay. It's a really realistic scene where he only brings it up because he has to, and Kipo accepts it right away and is happy to be his friend. It's a sweet moment and not the typical coming out we get to see on TV, especially since we barely see any coming outs at all. But it's clearly something he has already figured out off screen and is just telling Kipo about when it becomes relevant, which is just so real. We don't see him work through the process of coming out to himself, we just see him once he's already done that. I love it. I love it because it's not the focus. Coming out stories can be great and meaningful, but sometimes you just want to have a fun post-apocalyptic story with gay characters without having to have a big dramatic coming out storyline. This way, Benson is a part of the story, he is that queer representation, but it's not a focus of the show and it's not the only aspect of his personality. I just love everything about it, and I can't wait to see how the show handles any potential romances for him in future seasons. Kipo is a phenomenal show that's just made better by its diversity. And lastly, Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts is concise. It's only 10 episodes, there's no filler, every episode has the main characters working towards their main goal. And the first season does a perfect job of having a satisfying arc while also setting up a whole bunch of new stuff to happen in future seasons. I really hope this show gets the chance to run for as many seasons as it needs because its storytelling is just so good, and I need to see how it plays out. And if you want to get started with it, you can know that every episode is worth watching. All of those things together solidify Kipo and the Wonderbeasts as one of my favorite shows, and if you haven't seen it yet, I hope you'll give it a chance. In the comments, let me know what you thought of Kipo, or if you're going to watch the show after this. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider supporting me on Patreon. I make video essays like this one about different TV shows, and your support on Patreon would allow me to keep doing that. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.